Good morning, good morning. Buenos dias, buenos tardes, or buenos noches, depending on when you are listening to this. Of course, I'm Kat Lopez Shelby, the podcast host for Tech and Tequila. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, and bienvenidos. We're so excited you're here. If it's not, let me tell you guys, you are in for a treat because we're kind of going to switch off and not talk so much about tech this morning, but the thing is, we're at that time of the year as far as like business owners or anybody. I say business owners, but really anybody. We're in the last quarter of the year and it may be time to like take a look at your goals. And some people are looking at their goals with let's just say a moment of like, I don't want to say stress, but a moment of pressure, like, oh, we're nowhere near where we need to be. And some people are looking like, how are we going to get there? And some people are like, hey, we look good. But there's never a better time to set and reset. Welcome, and bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us on the podcast, Tech and Tequila. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kat Lopez Shelby, and I'm the founder and CEO of Shelby Technology Solutions. But more importantly, you're here for Tech and Tequila, where we learn a lot about tech and we may have some like nice tequila drinks while we're at it. If you're new here, Tech and Tequila is all about everything technology based for your business. So what that means is we have suppliers on here to talk about how they can help you grow your business. We, have mindset coaches on here talking about how to help you grow your business. We're all about business and basically introducing you to different suppliers and different ways that help you within your business. So I have Miss Grecia Karlsson here today. Yay! Thank you for joining. If you could just kind of, I guess, give a good background of yourself and, how you help people and really who is your ideal client to work with right now?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm Grecia Karlsson. I'm an elite coach for future icons. So if you're already like, oh, that's me, then let's definitely talk. Kat is one of the many, many people I've had the pleasure of helping on this journey of just stardom. And I'm so excited to be here. A little bit about my background. I have a business management degree, and what I'm doing with Superstars actually is I find in entrepreneurship, especially, we need a manager. Like we need a manager. And so I do management and mindset in a very high touch, very like partnership, almost like business partnership with these clients where we're talking nonstop about, nonstop meaning, with boundaries, of course, but nonstop with visions and ideas, but also, the gunk that comes with it. And being trauma informed, also being a part of something that I bring to the table is helpful too, because sometimes we get stuck and it's a part of it, right? But knowing the tools to get our body to feel safe again, to move forward, has been a game changer for my clients and for myself. And I'm excited to dig a little bit more into all these amazing things that come with mindset and business and tech and tequila.
Exactly. And I would be remiss if I didn't say now, traditionally, we pull up, we'll have a drink, I'll go through and I'll say, here's what we're doing. But we're actually recording this on Monday, which there's no better time than to have mindset on Monday. And so in lieu of that, what I'm going to do is just talk about an amazing tequila brand that you may or may not have heard of. And that is 1953 Tequila. If you haven't heard of them, they are an ultra premium, additive free anho tequila that is founded, farmed, distilled, and led by women. Here are like 5 facts that distinguish them. So first off, the name 1953 honors the year women in Mexico secured the right to vote, symbolizing empowerment and equality. Of course, I would be remiss without talking about the production process. So it is crafted from 100% blue Weber agave. It's cultivated in the mineral-rich red soils of Jalisco Highlands. The aging process, so it's aged for 15 months in vintage American oak barrels, previously used for bourbon, which imparts notes of caramel and vanilla into the tequila. And of course, one of the things that I like most is it's additive free. So they're committed to purity. The tequila contains no additives, ensuring a natural and authentic flavor, as well as helping with maybe, let's just say, not having some of the side effects the day after. Um, of course, it is founded and established by friends and not entrepreneurs Shivan Malik Shah, Lindsay Davis Stover, and Allison Keel Friedman. Their master distiller is Rocio Rodriguez, a chemical engineer. So the distillation process blends science with tradition. And of course, one of the big things is the brand partners with four sisters who manage an agave farm, breaking generational norms in a typically male dominated industry. Not to mention that all of their bottles are designed with a bespoke feature, pleated texture, and a reusable copper stopper, combining elegance and functionality. As well as, of course, they have a social commitment. As a public benefit corporation, 1953 Tequila is dedicated to creating opportunities for women, supporting the fair labor practices, and upholding environmental standards. So if you haven't checked them out, make sure and check out 1953 Tequila. So yay.
I am sold.
Yeah, right. Too bad. We'll save that for, the evening or after 5 sometime
Yeah.
this week. But like I said in the intro, I thought now would be a perfect time to have someone on to talk about, like, how do we readjust our goals? How do we maintain a positive mindset during a very pressureful time? I know not everybody universally experiences what I experience, but with everything happening, the last quarter of the year is actually one of my busiest times. And so, you know, I go through and there's a level of pressure that, I don't want to say I haven't seen before, but it seems to be last year. And I have a feeling this year with some of the things going on, let's just say in November in the US, that there's going to be businesses that are willing to move forward after certain dates or maybe reevaluate and look at some changes. So, how do you define the role of mindset in achieving your business goals?
I see it as a habit that needs to be worked on, just like our body, right? It's like stress builds up, well, thoughts build up, belief systems build up. And so, mind, body, spirit is something personally I take into my life. And if my clients resonate with those three as well, then we definitely make sure to touch on all of them. But the role of mindset specifically in achieving business goals is to be able to work towards a vision, know what it is that you're trying to call in, right? If we don't know and we don't take the time to visualize, then we're just like missing all the opportunities that could be in our focus, right? When we bring focus to something, when we know what in our mindset is that what we're looking for, we're giving our brain the opportunity to spot all the opportunities that are coming towards us, to spot all the chances to make that one goal happen, right? So yeah, I would say without that, then the business goals, I mean, it goes hand in hand, right? You can't have a business goal without having the mindset. They need to come together, especially when we think about mental health and when we think about the roller coaster of life. I mean, family things during this time of year, we have holidays coming up. That's often takes a toll on our confidence and our visions, especially if we don't have family that are as big of dreamers as we are, right? So how do you train your mindset to come back to the state of confidence, to the state of knowing who you are, and bringing that mindset also back to the body so that you can embody all of this and find a home with all of these thoughts as well, I think would be the most beneficial for achieving these business goals.
I think we can all relate to the fact that right now, as we head into the holiday season, is being around people who may push like our boundaries, push our mindset. So, what are some mindset shifts that have been most transformative for you as a coach and that you recommend to your clients to focus on for, the future superstar, the icon clients that you're working with right now?
For sure. I would say some of them is to stray away from the toxic individualism that society instills in us, right? Like it is, we're moving from this, like, I did it myself. I am what is it called? Where you become a millionaire on your own, from you doing it all alone to community building, right? Especially during the holidays, especially all of that, we might not find that sense of home or belonging in our family anymore, and we do, and some part of us might feel like that is home. But for the part of us that is this business mindset, we need to have a supporter. It could be me as a life coach, or it could be someone that really believes in you. It could be a best friend, a partner, right? But having that sense of community is what I would say the biggest mindset shift. Instead of trying to do it all alone, trying to like witness your own thoughts and change them to positive thoughts, like all of that is so exhausting, and it will be easier and so much more nourishing for our body and our soul if we can start to change the mindset shift from doing it alone to doing it in partnership with other people. And we go so much further together. We really, really do. So not only is it helpful for us and it feels really good to be in connection with other people, we also thrive more and faster. So definitely don't do it alone. I would say that's my biggest recommendation, is do it with people that believe in you, and change your mindset from alone to together.
Mhm. No, I absolutely love that. That's actually one of my favorite lines in the song Boss by the Carters, where it says, "You're rich if everyone next to you is rich, but you're broke if everyone's broke but you." Because it's the idea that we create this community and like we lift each other up, which I think is so important.
Wow, I love that. I hadn't paid attention to those lyrics, but yes, exactly.
Exactly. You know, I know that during this time, and especially like even for myself, people who get busier right now are people who maybe experience the opposite. Is, one of the things is, how do you recommend to your clients to maintain a positive and growth orientated mindset during challenging times, and whether that be just because, challenge can be both. It can be when you hit success and now you're having to scale and you're dealing with a different level of pressure. It can also be when you're not where you want to be at. What are the recommendations that you make?
Yeah, so to maintain a positive and growth oriented mindset during challenging times, I'm going to go back to community. Like, lean on that, lean on the people who believe on in you. Let it out. We have to, there is no benefit to you holding this in at all. It's going to like fester, it's going to get bigger. Like, there is no benefit to staying silent during these times. I recommend talking it out. It could be with a therapist if you feel like that's the route you want to take, a coach, a friend. Again, I'm going to repeat this probably a million times, but it's the idea of like emptying our body of the thoughts, but also like our body of, when we think of working out or cleansing, like all of that, it's cleansing. It's an ongoing thing. So in order to keep positive mindset going and to stay growth oriented, we must make space for the slower parts of us that are sad or mad, or like all of those parts are welcome, right? We need to find homes for them, safe places for them to land, so that they don't consume us, or so that they're not like bugging us like a mosquito every time we're trying to figure out what to do in our business, right? It's like it's gonna be there until you look at it and you do something with that, right? Find a safe place for each one of your parts, and that's the easiest way to be like, okay, now I released it, I can come back and, okay, let me refocus on my goal, and let me refocus on my to-do list for the day, or my end of year goals, or whatever it may be. You cannot stay focused, or you cannot keep growing when there's weeds that need to be picked out.
That's a very good point, is talking about like, a lot of times people think that having a positive mindset means that you're positive all the time. And I mean, let's face it, we're all human. So that's not exactly how the world rolls. But allowing yourself that full, I would say plethora, the full range of emotions is one of the most important things, because that way you can actually like get it out of your system and you're not just shoving it down.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like constipation. Like, no, why would you do that?
Yeah.
It's like
Why would
it's
you do that
natural.
to
Yeah, why would you do that?
Yeah. So, as the year comes to a close, what strategies do you recommend to your clients to implement to stay focused and stay motivated? Like, is there, do you say, like, here, schedule this, or, I don't want to use the term daily task list, but, is there something that you recommend that they look at like weekly or monthly or evaluate periodically?
Yeah, so something I do so differently, and it's edgy for some people, but I look at something called numerology, and it's been so spot on, and it's been so helpful because there is no one size fits all for anybody in business or life, really. Like everything's so personalized. And so for end of year, what I'm doing with my superstar clients right now is I know starting in October, we start to there's a shift that happens for the next year in numerology, right? So um, I look at that for each client, and then we know what we're focusing on for the next year, and we're starting that in October. So October is when the new year, in a sense, begins to come into our body. So we're shifting. This is where like the working out of the mind of like, okay, I this whole year I was in negative thinking, and now I'm going towards like my goal setting era, right? So it's like a new era for yourself every year, but it starts in October. So October to December is the perfect time for you to start practicing, to start working out those muscles. So by January, you already set in stone with whatever the intention is for the year. For some people, it's relationship building. So instead of if I told you if you're not in the relationship year for you, but I'm like, this is the year for relationships, or you have business goals for the people who are in the relationship year. I'm like, what is your relationship with your business? That's what we're going to focus on, right? So it gives me the language that I'm going to say 100% of the time, because I'm like very particular about who I work with as well. That resonates with my clients so much. And then so that personalization and bigger picture view has helped to personalize, like, what are we focusing on and how do we see it through the lens of relationships, or the lens of cleansing, or whatever the theme is for the year. How do we see it go from where you've been to where you're going, and how do we make that a practice? So it's been super fun. It's one of my favorite things to do, is incorporate different things like human design, gene keys, and some other words that you might not be familiar with, but if you want to be familiar, let me know. It's really helpful stuff and empowering.
Yeah, I love it. I'm one of those people that personally has a similar belief to yourself, because I'm very much trying to figure out what's the best way to work with different people and looking at their personalities, especially with my clientele. So I completely feel you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been the difference, I would say. I've been in this coaching industry for 8 years, and I would say I started these like personality type systems 6 years ago. And I mean, the first years to the last six, the first 2 years compared to the last six, it's just given life to that the personalization that we're talking about. To you are a unique being. There's some insight that we can take and see if it resonates. If it does, let's run with it, right? And with my clients specifically, I look at all of that. So I'm like, okay, where do we see your stardom being? What is your most unique ability? Let's 10x that. Let's really bring that, instead of doing things that you're not comfortable doing, or like everybody else is doing it. Like maybe you focus on social media because that's what you've been told, right? But like if your thing is to shine on stages, then let's get you on stages, girl. Like that has nothing to do with social media. you know and then the social media following will naturally be growing from the people seeing you in your spotlight, seeing you shine so bright, right? So yeah, it's been super helpful to just make it so much easier. There is a lot of self-reflection and things that you already intuitively know, like what you love to do when you were a child, and there's a lot of that self-discovery. And then add to that these different personality types and typology system, and it's golden. It's been what makes these stars shine brighter, which is what I love to do.
I love it. I love it. I think all of that is so important. So, another thing that I wanted to cover is what specific like mindset challenges do you see that a lot of the clients that you work with or entrepreneurs, superstars, icons face during this last quarter? And I know this is a little more of a generalization, but what do you kind of see?
I feel like that what something I see happening across the board is like a lot of pressure for this year. I feel like with icons and superstars, I like to think of bigger picture things, that everything that we're doing will come back to us in like kind energy. It could be soon, it could be in 10 years, but whatever the case may be, it is on its way to you because we're putting in the work right now. So being too hyper focused on like the results, of course, if you have to like pay your bills and all of that, of course, that's like priority. But yeah, just towards this slower season for some people, depending on what they're doing, if they're doing sales or real estate or however it is, when it's slower, getting more excited about springtime when everything is naturally, if we look at nature as a reflection of ourselves, is growing in springtime. So what do we need to do in these times? Like what kind of like we talked about, like weeds do we need to pull so that when comes springtime or come January, when we start preparing for spring, we can really blossom, and instead of make it's because they talk I'm going to talk up like cells, right? Instead of trying to make a lot of money all throughout the year, you make a lot of money in springtime and like let it be enough. Springtime, summertime, fall, and just sprinkle it around, not just focus so much on it needs to be consistently making money. I think that pressure adds too much to the artist. Does that make sense? So like the artist needs to be able to do the art and focus on the art. And then with the manager, I make sure that the things that need to get done to ensure success are getting done. Right. Like I'm like, okay, as long as we're getting those done, then we know that the rest is on its way. Right. So putting too much attachment is the word that I'm looking for. Attaching too much to outcomes, it just puts too much stress on the artist. And then we have, the struggling artist, and we do not want that. We want the superstar to be embodied at all times as much as possible, and make space for that artist that is like, oh my gosh, like how is it gonna, of course, like you bring it here, we make space to hold that, and then we move you through back to the embodied superstar so that you can attract the opportunities, the right fit opportunities for you, the ones that you would actually really love to be a part of, right? Not just any opportunity, but the ones that light you up the most and that are going to get you to that 5-year vision faster.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is, if you focus on the actions to keep you moving forward, rather like, okay, this is where we want to be. Not that that's not important because we know where we want to be, but it's, having that massive and perfect action and kind of like, I hate to say, like almost the Thomas train, like keep moving forward, or keep doing. That really helps to shift what's going on.
Exactly. And also because when we think about happiness, progress equals happiness. So it's more than the success, like the moment of success. Like, yeah, that's amazing. We love it. Like, bring more, Thank you, universe. More, please. But we're also thinking about how the simple act of progress equals happiness. So I focus on progress, and I know that as we keep progressing, the success is being attracted more and more and more and more. So especially before people find me, before they hire me as their coach, right? They are often stuck for a long time, and even in between, right? Like they hire me and then they're like they're like, oh, I got the tools to do it on my own. But a lot of us, we need that accountability, and like I said, management. Like it gets such a bad rep in corporate America and stuff because of micromanaging, but I like to do 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. That's the work week. As long as it's productive and you have someone cheering you on, you have your personal cheerleader, somebody with knowledge on how to do business, and like, and it's so high touch that I'm like, we're way more productive than you've been all year in our 3 months, 4 month program together, right? And then you get like a huge boost in the morale and the progress and the happiness and the success and opportunities. Like, and then some people do take the toolbox and can continue that on their own, which is incredible. Like, that's what it is encouraged. And also, again, community. Like, you don't have to do it alone. So now that you have a toolbox, you can, hire people to do the things that you really loved, or you can continue to be coached by me, but continue to have that accountability to keep you progressing, to keep you happy, to keep you attracting success.
No, I love that. That actually went into what my next question was going to be about, which was how do you prepare mentally for the pressure and potential setbacks? But I think you really addressed that by like, you just keep moving forward, like you keep heading in the same direction. Can you share a mindset practice that has helped you and your clients like really finish strong? Something that you recommend to almost.
A mindset practice. I mean, I'm doing it right now. So something that when I find myself being like, we have our ongoing thoughts. Our brain is always thinking. That's its job. So when I find myself getting distracted or my ADHD is acting up or whatnot, I bring my awareness back to my body, and I'm like, okay, as I'm talking to you now, I'm actively aware of my body on my seat. I'm like, I am here. I am here, you are there, right? So that I can go from heady and up here back into my body, back into embodiment, back into self-trust, right? So this is an active practice for performers, for people on stage. Like, if we get anxiety right before going on, or when you're there and you find yourself like fluttering up here, like, okay, coming back into the body, would be the best tip that I have for anything. And procrastination is a big one too. And so what I help my clients do are more practical. A practical way for you to do this right now is to tune into your five senses. So this could be using your sight to bring awareness to five things in your room, right? So right now I'm looking at my plant that's alive. I'm looking at a feather, and I'm bringing in, like, taking in the colors. I'm looking at my candle. And so I'm bringing, awareness to my sight. Okay. And there's five, right? But I named three of them. You want to name four things that you can hear. So I can hear the sound of my own voice. I can hear like leaves scratching at my window, right? So you want to bring four things that you can hear. Three things that you can feel, right? So I can feel my fingers on my palm, and I'm bringing awareness and staying with it for like 2 seconds. I can feel where my seat meets my chair, right? So you want to do, did I say three of those? Two things that you can smell. I can smell my coffee, which, I mean, my tequila, just kidding. It's my coffee. And then one thing that you can taste, which I can taste my coffee. And so already I'm feeling more regulated in my nervous system, right? So even though we use, words like superstar and all of that could be scary for the nervous system, it could feel like too much, too soon, too big. But at the same time, your heart is like filled with joy about the idea of it. I help you with the rest, right? I help you to find the safety in your body to be able to show up to podcasts like this, first thing in the morning when you've only taken 2 sips of coffee, right? And anytime you're finding yourself fluttering, you can come back into your body while doing things. Like, I'm also an ordained minister, and when I first started doing this practice, I mean, I had an incredible wedding that I spoke at, and I was at the same time that I was doing this and like channeling spirit and bringing these people to marriage, I was actively regulating my nervous system and being present with myself and my body and my level of self-trust with myself. And I help my clients do the same, right? So it's a huge missing piece in entrepreneurship that so many people don't know, but it's a superpower, right? So if you find yourself like, since you were a little girl, you saw yourself on stages, you saw yourself like, even in your young adult, I want to be on podcasts. I want to have my own podcast. Like, all of that, you saw yourself in the spotlight, right? But it's like, how do we get our body to feel safe with that when maybe, again, going back to the holiday season, like we get triggered and we're like, oh my gosh, it takes us back to that inner child, right? And our family, unknowingly, they will hold on to the version of us they have the most power over, right? So they don't see the star that we are, right? They see the little kid or whatnot. So being around them, like again, coming back to centering yourself in the knowledge of who you are, of who God instilled you to be, of the desires and the dreams that have been placed in your heart, your purpose, and then guiding or having someone guide you into embodying that, putting that in your body so that it's the way that you walk around when you're at HEB, right? At the local grocery store, when you're buying tequila or like whatever, like it's the person that you chose to become. You chose to step into the shoes that you saw since you were little. You're like, though, that's who I want to be. And even when I'm triggered, it's okay that that happens in holiday time. I'm going to come back to my community. I'm going to come back to the safe people, the safe places that bring out the best in me. And then I'm going to come back into my body because it's safe to be in this body. Right, but how do you it's a process, and I can help you do it. If it feels like a big deal, I can help, I can help.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that might kind of lead into a little bit, like, I don't want to say repetitive, but what is some advice that you would give someone who is at that point where they feel overwhelmed? And I mean, this may be about meeting their goals. It could just be, about what the future holds or whatever it could be. Like, what advice do you give to people like that?
I was talking about, yeah, just like your spiritual practice. So coming
Yeah.
back to whatever, like your foundation, your
Mhm.
core, your intention, it could be, right? So if spirituality is too woo for you, coming back to your intention, what was your why for starting this business in the first place? What visions are you like? Why even chase that vision? What is it, right? So sitting with the heart of what you're doing, right? And with your purpose and why you're even here, right? Could be the motivation that we need to like continue when we're overwhelmed. Having someone facilitate something for you like that. Again, talking it out, like not staying silent about these things and connecting. And let's talk about connecting for a second. Connect, but with the boundary already set. So a lot of people don't know how to hold space. So what I mean by boundary already set is you're gonna tell your partner, if that's who you decide, or your best friend, hey, I have a lot on my mind. I have a lot on my heart. I just need you to listen. I do not want advice. Right. So like setting that up before, and if they've never done it before, it's gonna be uncomfortable. But you can ask, like, is that okay? Can you do that for me? And then as they start giving advice, because they might be like, they don't know what to do with this, right? Like they don't know how to stay silent. I'm not looking for advice. I just need to be heard. Can you do that for me? So you're like holding, you're advocating for yourself and for your needs, right? So overwhelm, I think of like overfull of like things on your heart, of worry, right? Of stress, of um, faith in the negative, right? So letting out the faith in the negative, right? You can make space for faith in the positive, right? And then if after sharing you feel like you're open to advice, then you can ask for advice then. But I like to start with just already anticipate that you don't need advice because it could be too much and overwhelm you even more if somebody already starts spitting advice at you that you know you're not going to take. You're like, I don't need advice right now. I just need to be heard. I just need to, in Spanish, we say deshogar. Like I need to get like I need to stop drowning, in this overwhelm. And the way to do that is, and if you don't have a safe person to do that, journal, talk it out loud to the sky at night, or like take a walk and just talk it out loud. And it's okay if just put your headphones on and just pretend you're on a call. But anything you need to do to get it out of you, I trust that the energy is being sent out of like, I need support. And that support will find you because you're desiring support from this place of overwhelm. So have compassion with yourself and advocate for yourself and get the help that you need that could be most helpful for you.
Yeah, I love all that. I think it's funny when you said about like putting your earphone on and like walking around. Because I have a really good friend that one of her manifestation practices is like early in the morning, she goes for a walk like a walk, and she'll tell herself like, I am this, I am this. And she's like, I know these people in the park think I am crazy, but she's like, this is it. I have to hear it. Like I have to have it out and not just inside. So I think that is, obviously all of those are great to utilize, especially if you are feeling that. What would you say? Like you know, I know that I feel like a gratitude practice is extremely important, but what are some of the gratitude practices that you recommend for people, especially that maybe highlight some accomplishments that they've already made to help keep them moving forward as we head into the tail end of this year?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thanks for asking that. I think the gratitude practice for me is not so much like I write it every morning, but I'm vocal about the things as they're present with me. Like yesterday, I was talking to my mastermind on WhatsApp, and I was like, I really care about you all. And I just want y'all to know it. Like it's on my heart. So like I'm vocal about it. And I know not everyone is, but as things that you're grateful for or as emotions, well up. If you can express them or take a moment to pause and be with that, you'll attract more of that. You'll start to focus more on that, right? So it doesn't have to be something that, and it can be if you find like you do really good with to-do lists. And morning pages might be a thing where you wake up and you say, what are the three things that you're grateful for? Or before going to bed, if you have a partner or a best friend that you check in with before at nighttime, like what were your three or what was your favorite part of the day, right? So just bringing awareness and conversation and like casting spells with the words that we're saying, literally. Like you're like, I am grateful for this, right? So like you're putting it out into the universe, and then you're letting light kind energy come back to you to be like, here's more to be grateful for. I know that to be true for myself, and I know it to be true, or like I've been a witness to it to everyone who's practiced it. So if it feels right for you, any of these different ways to be with the feeling, the sensation of gratitude, I think, well, I know you'll start to see it more, right? My mentor, or one of my first mentors, Tony Robbins, says, whatever you focus on, you see more of, right? So when you focus on things that you feel grateful for, you're going to see more things to be grateful for, right? You're going to find your heart melting little by little, little by little, and then you have an open heart over a long period of time. But it starts with that one time that you feel grateful that you are listening to this podcast and you found these messages right now. If you can take the time and like really savor the moment of like, thank you, right? That's one of my favorite prayers, is just thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this doesn't have to say anything after that. It doesn't have to be for something specific. It's just thank you to the ethers, right? And I'm like, and then I get excited because I'm like, I know that energy is coming back to me. Like, how cool is this life that we get to live, where like all I have to do is feel thankful for this breath, this simple, warm breath that I just got to savor in this moment, and the sound of my voice. And again, coming back to your five senses, like, and the sensation of body and the connection of humanity, like whatever it is, all the simple pleasures in life, if we can bring our five senses into it, and get it, like now it's time to get excited that more is coming your way. Like how cool. That's such a cool concept. We didn't even have to, like, we didn't make it ourselves, it's just like a law of the universe. So thanks for asking that question. Now I feel like I'm filled with gratitude, so thank you.
I love it. And my last and final question, and I know people kind of feel differently about this, but as you approach the tail end of this year, lots of people are like, they want to like, I don't want to say rush forward, but they want to be like, all right, let's talk about goals for next year. Not saying that you're against setting goals for next year, but what is your recommendation for setting the intentions and goals for the upcoming year, but while staying present and productive in this very last quarter of the year to make sure that you're doing what I say what, but doing what needs to be done, like keep moving forward for this year to like, I don't want to say like, not kind of be like, oh, this year's a wash, like we're over it. I mean,
Mhm.
not to name names, but since you and I have both worked in sales, we all know those salespeople that they get to like the tail end, and instead of being like, oh my goodness, I've got, 2 days to the end of the month, there's no way I'm going to do that. And then the salesperson's like, I got this. We got 2 days. Like, who knows? 24 hours can be amazing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, so good. Yeah. Hmm. So more specifically, you're saying what's the approach to setting intentions, right?
Yes. Like, what's your approach to
Yeah.
setting intentions for that?
Mhm. Well, my personal approach is inquiry. So like I inquire within myself and talk to spirit, and like I'm in communion, like what is in the highest good for all, for next year, for the end of the year, like help me focus. So that's my personal one. But I help with my clients, I inquire with them. I'm like, what is, I ask them these questions, the same questions. And then have them take the time to sit with these questions, right? Like, what is your biggest vision for yourself? Right. Again, like staying focused on that big vision always so that it doesn't have to end this year. But the being excited for that vision, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, well, if that's happening next year, then I need to be on the lookout for the opportunity that's going to get me that client or get me on that stage or get me that opportunity. So, for me personally, because I feel like that could be helpful. I have 3 intentions that I'm going into next year. Again, I start everything in October, so I actually don't start in January. And for me, it's like what did I do when I was a child, when I was a little child that I had with me, was I stayed curious. I was such a curious child, and I was already connected. Like I was spiritually attuned to the present moment. So my intention for starting in October now is to stay attuned. Right, that's my inner child. So I'm going to continue to stay attuned to the present moment. My inner teenager was such a go-getter and such a big dreamer, and anything I wanted I achieved. I was a pageant queen of my city, I was homecoming queen, I was the highest ranked officer in high school. Like I wanted to compete in Disney World, I competed in Disney World. Like anything I wanted, I got it. So my inner teen, what she was a go-getter and a big dreamer. So my intention is to keep dreaming big and to keep going after it, keep shooting my shots, right? Like keep trying everything, keep pitching myself everywhere. And then my young adult self, the coolest thing that she brought to the table was she was always invited to do things. Like I was constantly on panels, constantly emceeing things, constantly on podcasts. Like I was invited all the time. So the third one and the most edgy one is to like say yes to the invitations, right? So because I have my focus on all of these intentions, they're not specific goals. I personally don't work super well with specific goals. My way of being in human design, again, that typology system is more a flow and more like surprise. But with my clients, they have a specific way to do things. And some of them do require, right, very specific intention and very specific action that needs to be taken. And then I help them stay accountable to their way of being, again, the personal way of doing things. So I shared my 3 intentions because I'm excited for my goals for next year, right? I'm like, okay, so then I pitched myself to Austin PBS. I pitched myself to this panel, right? I'm saying yes to the invitation of being here on this podcast. And so I'm like, and then I'm saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm like, it's coming, it's on its way. And I'm like open to it. I'm seeing it. So that's how I'm staying super motivated. I'm like beyond motivated for the rest of the year. Like I don't resonate right now, but I know in previous years I have resonated with like it feeling slower, and that's okay. Right now it doesn't feel that way for me, but for the clients who are experiencing like a slower season, it's not, it could be a slower season in business. That doesn't mean it's a slower season in connection, or it doesn't mean it's a slower, like it's what are you 10xing all the time. Last year I 10xed my trauma healing. The year before that I 10xed my healing with my family members, right? So all of those built the foundation for me to be able to skyrocket this year to 10x my business, right? So it's never wasted time. It's so even if it's a slow year, like and numbers wise, it's never a slow year when you have intention and when you're um, have a growth mindset, which everyone listening to this, I mean, you don't listen to a podcast if you don't have a vision, right? So it's never a slow year in intention. So keep with your intention, stay focused on the big vision, and get support. Get support.
Yeah, I love all of those. And thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today and so much great information. Now, of course, I think you're amazing. Now, for all the listeners out there, or I feel you're amazing, I know you're amazing. Maybe that's a better way to verbalize that. But for any of the listeners out there that are interested in working in your latest program about, for future icons and superstars, what is the best way for them to find you, get in touch with you, and get on your books, so to speak?
Yeah, my website, you'll find more information about like who it is that I'm looking for. I'm currently on a talent search for big dreamers. Like if you resonate with being, since a little kid, you had a vision, or you just dream bigger than the people around you, then I'm like, let's talk, right? And I have currently, I have a few spots left for next year. So I have a free coaching call called Superstar Strategy Session. Mouthful. But it's a strategy session to go from like, where are you at right now in your business or in this idea, and where do you want to be? What's the biggest vision you had for yourself? And then I help you bridge the gap. I help you create a strategy to get from that to your biggest vision. And then if we feel like we're a good fit for each other, you can find out more about what it looks like to work with me. So that'd be really fun. I'd love to have the conversation.
I love it. I love it. So definitely make sure that you check out Grecia's website. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. And it's GreciaKarlsson.com. I'm sure you'll find it in the notes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Tech and Tequila. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. To stay updated about all things tech and more, don't forget to visit us at our website, shelbyts.com. If you loved what you heard, remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our podcast. Your 5-star ratings and reviews mean the world to us and help us to reach more listeners just like you. So muchas gracias again for joining us with Tech and Tequila. Thank you so much. You learned a lot about tech, and maybe you had a nice drink of tequila.